to my Hindu friends, Kasiho. Shukriya and Fir Malinge. Those are the only three things I know how to say in Hindi. I learned them from, I don't know, about 20 years ago. I went to this gas station and the cashier was from India, and those are the only three things he taught me. But I remembered them. Kasiho is like hello, which I think most people say like namaste now or something, but shukriya is like thank you, and Fir Malinge is like see you again. Anyway, so I lost that video, so I'll just show y'all real quick the basic how to make that speed bump. It's just a cylinder that I rotated like 90 degrees, and then I scaled it lengthwise. Now if you may want these shaded lines, but you can tell an object shade smooth if you want to get rid of them. But actually I think I'd rather have them on here for this. It makes this easier to see. Alright, then I made a duplicate of this, and the duplicate I scaled a little smaller than the one that's there, and then I scaled it longer so that it cuts a nice little hole out. Alright, depending on how much you scale it, depends on how much of a lip that speed bump will have. That's up to you, whatever you want. And then what you'll do, you'll pick this first object and you'll add a modifier, a boolean. You'll pick the middle object and hit apply. And what it should do now, when you delete the middle object, it should leave you a nice hole in the middle. And then I'll go to like the side view. I'll add a mesh cube. I'll scale this thing, you know, so it's longer than the tube. Then from a side view, I'll get up close and I'll lift it up. Alright, the green line is the ground, so this is where you want to cut it as close as you can, but you know, not too much above, or then you'll have a bump when you hit it. So what you can do is get in really close and, you know, get it pretty close like that. Now what you'll do is the same thing again, except this time when you do the boolean, you'll pick this bottom object, you'll add a modifier boolean, and you will pick the top object, the cube. So you can see it sliced it. You'll hit apply, and you can delete the cube unless you want to cut it again somewhere else. I mean, you can cut this thing any different kind of way. You can make some pretty creative stuff by just cutting things into one another. Like, you know, you could cut it this way, you know, or, you know, maybe you want to, I don't know, cut like little slices all the way down. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but we'll just leave it like this for the regular thing. Now we can do the smoothing. Object shade smooth, and now we'll just put a texture on it, which I can tell you now the texture is not going to go on there right, but let's add it anyway. Material properties, I'm just going to put tube, I don't need this light or camera. I'll go and get them out of here. So with the object pick, go to your material properties and pick a base color, image texture, open, and I'm just going to pick the one from yesterday, which is actually in my downloads folder. Now these came from, all these things from textures.com. They all come in TIFF. You'll want to convert those to DDSs or JPEGs or something. You don't want to use a TIFF. They're usually like very large files, if I'm not mistaken. Alright, then you can pick this thing up here, viewport shading, to see your texture, and you see it's not right. Now since we scaled this object, we need to apply all transforms so that when we unwrap it, it'll have the proper UV mapping. Let me show you what I mean by that. Apply all transforms. Now in UV editor, you'll see this part represents, like, this is the lip here, and that's the other lip, and this is the scoop right here, and these pieces here are the ends. It doesn't take a genius to figure out what's what. When you start clicking on stuff, you'll, oh, okay, that's what that is. Now you can pick faces and pick, like, you know, just the faces. But if you do this, you'll need to turn on X-ray, which allows you to pick what's in the front and in the back. You have to slide this over and you'll see it right there, X-ray. That means you can pick that, it'll pick everything. You know. Alright, now when you go into UV editor, you'll have to go back over here and reselect. I don't know why it doesn't stay in that mode, but you have to switch it back again to see the texture. Alright, so pick this, scale it. Scale it so that it is whichever way you gotta scale it to get the texture to kind of condense. See, now that's correct. See, I had to scale it like that, which is about right for the length of that. I might have scaled it a little more. These in the middle, you'll have to turn X-ray off to pick these. You can pick them both at the same time, and they're not correct. So unwrap, and now they're correct. See how they're lengthwise, which I didn't actually do that with the middle part. That's why I had to scale it. If I'd have unwrapped the whole thing, it would have done correctly, like UV unwrap. See, now that's more accurate to what this is. But I don't want to do that because I done did all that hard work. So I want to I'm going to move these so that we kind of get a little bit of this other part of this texture, these little lines. And then I'm going to scale these to match the length of this. So we got some consistency. That's close enough. See, now they're all kind of similar. And then we'll just do the end pieces, which these will probably be fine, but I'm going to scale them anyway, so that it makes those textures a little smaller. Now the only reason I can go outside the bounds is because this is a seamless tile texture. If it was not, then you would see lines, repeating lines. And you don't want that. That was it. That's how I textured the thing. I mean, and making them all different sizes was just as easy as just go back in the layout. Now you just make all your different sizes. But what I did though is I I'll just show you real quick. This will save you some time. Say I make one that size, and then I hit Shift D to make a duplicate, and then I make that one a little bigger. And I hit Shift D and make that one a little bigger. So now we got like 5 different sizes, but they're all different lengths. So one thing you can do is you can just make 2 boxes, 2 cubes, and what I did is move the cube so it right where the very first one got cut. And I'll duplicate it, Shift D, and I'll move it. So that now it's where that first one's cut. They'll all be cut there. And to save some time, I just join these 2 together. And then one at a time, I pick one, and I'll say modifier Boolean. And I'll pick the cubes. Then I'll say apply. Now I won't delete the cubes, I'll use them again. So then I'll pick the next object. Boolean, pick the cubes, apply, and do this for all of them. Boolean, pick the cubes, apply. I got one more. Somehow that one is not the right length. I'm not going to try to fix that, but you get the idea. Now you can delete them all and you see how they're all cut correctly. Yeah, somehow this one got screwed up. Got a little piece out there. I must have slid it, moved it accidentally. Now you would think this would be pretty easy to do, but do you know that I had a hell of a time? Because I forgot, when you make a copy, you see it has these .001, 002. Somehow it did that to the texture. So I like, for example, tube, then tube .001, 002, 003. I said, oh my goodness. That's why if you look at the material file, I have like 5 different textures that are all the same thing, but I was like, damn this, I am not doing this again. I just didn't feel like doing the editing. Oh, you may notice when you Boolean, you get, it messes up. Because what it doesn't know when it cuts an object, it gives the UVs of that box, which were not the same as this, so you'd have to re-edit these in edit mode. Pick the face, go to UV editor, and just do this to all of them. You actually can, to save time, you can pick them all, go to UV editor, and just hold shift and pick like all of them like this. And save you a little time. I'm holding the shift key while I'm doing that. And I'll go to UV editor and you'll see these are, I'll grab that one, which that's actually a few of them. And I'll grab that one. I'll scale them up so that they're larger. Now we'll look back at this and you'll see it fixed those. And that is how I did yesterday's reverse inverted speed bump. I got one more to fix. And I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. Like, to make them the other direction, I just grabbed them and rotated them all 90 degrees for the regular size, the regular direction. So that's how that was done. I guess today I'll look at the water speed bump, try to make something creative with that. I'm not going to do like the dude in the video. I'm going to make something in Blender, because from my understanding you can't share a river like you can an object, so I have to make something out of in here. But I'll do that later today. I got some other things I got to do. So I'll post this, and hopefully this will get your questions answered. To make the collision mesh, I'd suggest you're going to have to do them one at a time. That's the only thing. This is what was kind of time consuming. So like, I'll duplicate one and I'll call it collision mesh, COLMESH-1. Then I'll add two empties, plane axes. Name one base 0, 0, name the other start 0, 1. And then you just hold shift and left click, drag and drop. Then you'll put that first, what was that first one? I gotta get the right one. Alright, it's that one. So I'll take that one and its duplicate, that collision mesh, and I'll left click, shift and drag and drop, put them in there. Now what I'll do now is I'll pick the first thing here, and then I'll pick the last thing. So all four are selected, and I would say file, export, Collider, and I'd make me a folder on the desktop, and I would call this like, tube 1, export it, and then delete this one, delete this collision mesh, and delete that cylinder, and then take the next one, shift, left click, drag and drop it into there. Now you don't have to worry about the name of that one, but when you duplicate it, be sure that it doesn't have a number after it, and just call it COLMESH-1. And select these 4 items, file, export, Collider. Oh, I may not have said it. Pick selection only. That was the point, because you're only selecting these 4. You only want to send these 4 as a mesh, and export. That way you can delete those out of there, and then take the next one and put it in there and duplicate it and make it collision mesh. And then pick them, file, export, Collider, and call this like tube number 3, and be sure selection only is picked, and then do that with the rest of them. Somehow yesterday I ended up with 5 tubes with all the textures being named tube 001, tube 002, or whatever it was, and man, it took me forever to get that, like 3 hours it took me to sort that out. It didn't take no time to make it. It took me all the time because Blender won't let you put duplicate damn names. Anyway, that's how you do this. If there's any other questions, let me know. You could also, if you wanted to, if you wanted to be a little creative, you could do some other stuff to these things if you want to give them a little more personality, a little weathered look maybe. You know, maybe you could take like, let's see, just take this cube and squash it. You know, just rotate it at some funny angle and then move it into the mesh. Like this, right? And then boolean. And move your cube somewhere else. Right, so you get some little damage on there, some little, you know, that's what I was going to say. You can be creative with this box and have you some fractures and fractures and cracks. This may be where it's easier to just use the little move things to get it where you want it. So now we got some damage, which I didn't cut this right. I had some overlap, but you get the idea. You can kind of cut away things and make things into little pieces. If you want it to look, you know, like it's not a perfect three-dimensional object. One more thing. You could also in edit mode. No, I'm not going to get into that. That'll take too long to explain. I was going to say you could add physical surface texturing to it, but then I'd have to explain baking and all that. Now cutting things, you can have some weird stuff happen. Like that. But this one looked okay. So I just think that would be kind of nice to have like different little pieces and chunks missing. There is a plug-in you can get that will fracture stuff. Like quick liquid smoke. I don't see it. I may not have the one installed. Yeah, there's one that will actually do a cell fracture. Don't get excited. These don't work in the game. They won't work. I've already tried. Yeah, I don't have it. There's one in here you can go to search for preferences, go to add-ons, and type in cell. I think it's cell, C-E-L. Yeah, there is cell fracture, and pick it, and then save preferences. And what that'll do in the object, it'll give you a new tool, cell fracture. And you have to mess with these numbers. Or is that, I damn closed it. You'll have to mess with these numbers to kind of get to a... Damn it, I did it again. Shit. Hit OK. And you'll see it'll basically shatter this thing into many pieces. And you can be like, oh, okay, well let me take that piece out. And let me take, I don't know, that piece out. And maybe this piece and that piece and maybe that piece. And so then you get like some, you know, broken and cracked. See which one of these does the median point, I think. Forget which one is the one that I can't remember. It's easier to just move them. You could do some cool things with the roads too, like this. I made a video on that, but it didn't look that good, what I made. So you got this torn up part here. And that looked quite nicely on the ground. Because, you know, nothing is perfect in the world. Nothing is perfect. If it's perfect, then it looks fake. So if you really wanted your stuff to look more realistic, put some cracks in it. Offset pieces. You know. That's if you're going for more realism. You can fix all your UVs too if you want to, because when you do a cell fracture, it doesn't know how to do the UVs for the parts that you have shattered. So you would pick like this piece in here and just say unwrap, and that will fix it. I'll go back in and closer and you can see how it fixed that. So like that one's not fixed up there. You go to UV editor and you pick the top and see, hell, this UVs are way over here. This UV unwrap, and you can go back and look and see now it's fixed. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to have to do that with all these little pieces. You can try to do them all at the same time and maybe you get lucky. Not bad. I ain't got all them little pieces down there too, which I'd turn on X-ray if I'm gonna do that and pick them all and say edit UV unwrap. What did it do? Alright, yeah, and then I would just take them all, and all those anyway, and I'd scale them up. They're little pieces. I don't know that it's perfect, but it might be a little better. Anyway, I think that's it for this. I know I said that 3 times, but I keep thinking, well, maybe you could do this if you wanted to. Now, if you did fracture this, you see it made all these meshes. You'll want to pick them all, an object, and join them back together so that they are one. Oh, there's even more pieces than I damn thought. Ooh, look at all them. A bunch. Join. Yeah, see, now it's just one object again. Yeah, you would want to do that. You wouldn't want to export all them individually. Alright, y'all, hope this helped. Maybe give you some ideas for some different things. Let me know if you got any questions.